let me clear the frequency, Jim. KC9 Victor, King Victor, KC9VKV, K1GZL. I don't want to lose the frequency here, so we're standing by, Jim. KC9 Victor, King Victor, K1GZL.
And good afternoon, everyone. This is KC9VKV, and this is the QSO-VLOG network. From now until 5, we are recording live. So if you have a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We are recording, and then we'll place it up on YouTube in the next couple of days. And if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, we are running right now, I think, about 700 QSO-VLOGs. But the one that you'll be interested in probably will be on page 1, and it will be entitled My Group Aircheck 9619. My Group Aircheck 9619, which happens to be today's date. And that's when we call it what we do. It kind of makes things a lot easier. But anyway, also, if you have a radio that you need a little assistance in tuning up the audio for your transmit, we do that also. So we can accomplish a lot of things that you might be in need of. Just give us a shout. Right now, we're going to check and see if Charlie, K1GZL, is on frequency. Charlie?
GZL is on frequency. Charlie?
Yeah, we're here. Brandon, stand by a few minutes. We'll be with you there. Yes, I'm right here, Jim, and you're 9 to 9 plus direct. Go ahead.
Roger, Roger. Now, I'm going to flip over to my, well, let's see here. I'm not facing north directly. I'm going to pull my rotor around to 00 degrees, or maybe 25 degrees. That might be a little closer to where you are. All right, and now I'm going to flip over to my 10-foot loop antenna. So stand by just a moment.
Loop antenna. So stand by just.
And this is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor on the loop antenna. Charlie, do you notice much of a difference?
Antenna, Charlie, do you notice much of a difference?
Yeah, give it to me. We had a station come in at the same time. Yeah, stand by, Brandon. He's recording, and he'll just a couple minutes. Give it to me again on the loop antenna there, Jim. Go ahead.
All right, we're on the loop antenna right now. I just switched over to the loop, and we'll just see how today is faring with the loop antenna. All right, Charlie?
Faring with the loop antenna. All right, Charlie?
Okay, right now you're S9, and you were 10 over on the other one. I made a recording of them both. Here they are.
We can accomplish a lot of things that you might be in need of. We're going to check and see if Charlie, K1GZL...
I went back too far.
Charlie?
I went back too far. Wait a minute. I've got it here now.
Not facing north directly. I'm going to pull my rotor around to 00 degrees, so maybe 25 degrees. That might be a little closer to where you are. All right, and now I'm going to... All right, we're on the loop antenna right now. I just switched over to the loop, and we'll just see how today is faring with the loop antenna. All right, Charlie?
Okay, but you hear the difference, so go ahead.
Roger, Roger. Well, we're back on the, I think, and let me take a look here. This is not exactly the closest thing, this switch that I have to make between the dipole and the loop antenna. But right now we're on the loop, and we'll just stay on the loop here for a little while and see how things go. We finally got our rotor going. It was a rotor that we thought had bad gears in it, and at one time we had replaced it with another rotor, and almost tossed this rotor. But you know, there's something in the hoarding nature of me. I just can't seem to throw things away, so I set it aside for another day, and That day came when my rotor that I had on the 10-foot loop ceased to stay in sync. It kept wanting to wander around. Maybe something about the age of the rotor. Anyway, it would not stay in sync. And so I did revisit the old rotor that I thought had a problem, and I opened it up, and it turned out that it was just the motor mounts. The motor mounts had come loose and was not grabbing in the proper manner the next gear that it was supposed to drive. So I simply tightened the motor mount down, and well, it came to life, and that's what's running outside now. Roger, Roger.
That's what's running outside now. Roger, Roger.
And right now you're on the loop?
Correct. We're on the loop right now.
Correct. We're on the loop right now.
Well, boy, it's banging in here. My gosh, that thing is really working, Jim. Absolutely clear as a bell. You're only down 10 dB from your regular antenna. Go ahead.
Roger, well, I was supposed to be that up over my regular antenna. Now, I do have, I am running my red gold tuning capacitor, kilowatt tuning capacitor, red gold. It's red gold because I was in Kroger the other day, and I was walking down the aisle, and I was thinking, well, let's see here. There's some red gold tomatoes in a medium can. I think I'll grab that. And I went on down a few more steps, and I came to the cut green beans in a standard tin can, and I said, well, I'll get some of that too. And then on the way out, I found they had rubber placemats, so I got one of those too. And I come home and I ate the tomatoes, washed out the can, cut the green bean can open, and put the contents in a little container, and washed out the green bean can. And then I went out in the shop, and I put a wire, drilled a hole in the ends of both of those cans, put attached wires to both of those cans, took the little can, which had about an inch of space around it as it fit into the big can, and wrapped the little can with the strips of the placemat to hold it tight. Crammed it in the red gold can, went out, hooked it up, and lo and behold, I got a 1.5 with a 1 kW, I guess about a 40 kVA ability. Roger?
40 kVA ability. Roger?
Wow. That was very good, Jim, on that. You really made it. Okay, I'm not going to hold on frequency is VA3 BEAKER London. He'd like to get a check with you there, Jim. But golly, you're doing wonderful. I think you said that was a 10-foot loop. 10-foot loop. My gosh, you know, you can get away with anything. Obviously, your radio location is good. By the way, Jan on her round-the-world sailboat should be arriving any time now in Vancouver, British Columbia. She did not have favorable winds yesterday to come in there, but she, as you know, turned 80, now 78 years old, about a month ago, 78 years old a month ago, and she is the oldest person ever to go single without stopping all the way around the world on a sailboat and make it back to Vancouver. So she can see the mountains of Washington State, but she has to get the right wind, and she's almost ready to dock. All she has to do is get a bit of a northwest wind, and then she goes, and boy, she'll be all over the news, and she deserves it. Okay, Jim, I won't hold it too long, but you might pick up VA3 BEAKER London. He is on frequency there. Real good. So congratulations, Jim. Congratulations. By the way, I might mention one thing, which is a little bit weird, but you realize that civilization probably is repeating itself, goes back so much further. You realize that the 6,000 years of recorded history is only 1/5,000 of 1% of Earth's history. K1VZL, hope you're copying.
Roger, Charlie. Well, I'm splitting my receiving between Rochester SDR and my local antenna. It's amazing how time passes by. I wouldn't even know that that was that much time passed by. But I guess that's what they say. Time passes in the blink of an eye. And sometimes that blink is eternity as you're waiting for something to go right or anticipating something going wrong. Anyway, three's up that way, Charlie. Thanks for the QSO. Always a pleasure. And you were like 10 over, 12 over around Rochester. And my local situation, I think you were about 6 over my local noise level. So great. And I hope your friend, it's amazing those sailboats have the ability, when they're tacking, they can tack into the wind. They can actually tack into the wind and go forward for the opposite way the wind's blowing. It's not real quick, but it does work, and they kind of have to zigzag a little bit to make it work. But it's just, sailing is just magnificent, and I hope that she gets all the accolades she deserves. A very brave woman sailing around the world. I'm not sure. Charlie, what did you say her age was?
78. 78 about a month ago.
78-year-old woman sailing around the world, and I might add, solo. So that's the amazing thing, and we applaud her very much. Thanks, Charlie. Three's that way, sir. You have a real good weekend, and we'll catch you next Friday. Hey, and by the way, I did catch you one early morning talking to Australia, and I had the loop up and running, and I could copy Australia also. Roger?
Oh, yeah, that's Ian. He has stacked and I've seen him 40 over 9 in here. 40 over 9. 40 over 9 in here. 40 over 9, like a ton of bricks, and he's trying to do very well. But that takes super conditions. You get a day with sporadic E in there where it almost cut off. The E layer just does not allow the signal to slowly get up to the F. But he was good this morning. He was 25 over 9. How are you copying myself? How was I coming in that morning you were listening, guys?
You were coming in at just about the same level he was, Roger.
Roger, understand. A lot of times we don't have stateside QSO very well, unless it's way out there. Other times it's like a ton of bricks. Okay, there, Jim, and we'll catch you next Friday. And I'll flip it right back over to you, Brandon, if you're still with us. KC9VKV, 2VA3 BEAKER, London, just east of Toronto, Canada, K1VZL. Not there at the moment. 73, Jim, catch you next Friday.
Roger, Charlie. Three's that way, sir. You have a real good afternoon. This is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. And this afternoon, we are on our new 10-foot mag loop antenna, running a KW on our mag loop antenna, and our homemade tuning capacitor made out of tin cans. A medium-sized red gold tin can and a regular size cut green beans can crammed into each other. And normally there's about an inch of airspace around the two, but I also have a placemat, a rubber placemat that I cut up into strips and wrapped around the little can to hold it in place when I crammed it in the big can. And it's amazing, I just slide them in and out for tuning. And I was, the first time I tuned, I was, I think, on 8 megs. And it was just beautiful just to pull it right down on frequency. So, it is handling a KW of power. So this is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check the audio, give me a shout. KC9VKV. Yes, station calling. Go ahead. There was a station calling. Go ahead.
That was K0AAJ.
K0AAJ. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jim, I've talked to you in the past, and I just made the changes on my radio, and I wanted to see if I sounded okay.
Audio, the EQ is perfect. Might stand just a little bit more processing. Check to see if you have your compressor on a 3. Is that a Roger?
Roger, it is. It's on a 3.
All right, and then check your ALC to be sure that your level is mid-scale to 2/3. Roger.
Okay, I'll do that as I talk, and let's see here, 2/3, let's see, how's that sound?
Well, tell me a little bit about your antenna system for about 10 seconds or so.
Okay, I'm using an inverted V, Alpha Delta, 80 through 10, I believe it is, and I've got it mounted on my tower. The apex is about 40 feet.
Roger that, roger that. Well, okay, consistency is the thing about working a microphone, same distance, same volume, and I thought maybe you might have lowered your volume level just a tad, or conditions might have changed, I'm not sure, but it's important to be consistent, giving the radio setup the same degree of audio pretty much as possible all the time. Roger?
Roger, and as a matter of fact, I did come down a few watts. As I was tuning, I was meaning to hit the gain, and I was actually tuning the power.
Oh, well, there you go. Those things do make a difference. Sometimes I don't get the hold of the right button myself.
Okay, Jim. Well, I just want to check, make sure everything was working. I have tweaked a few of the trim and actually, I down a bit in the bandwidth on this particular frequency.
Roger that. Well, I just was moving something and moved more things than what I wanted to, but you're sounding good. I think you've got it all together, Roger.
Okay, Jim, and thanks a lot for your help. I appreciate it now, and I appreciate it when I first talked to you. This KC9VKV, K0AAJ, 73, Jim.
Roger, Roger. What's the name there?
It'd be Ron, Romeo, Oscar, November.
And your location?
I'm in South Haven, Mississippi, just below the line of Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, and your radio?
My radio is a 7300.
Love it. Sounds great. Thank you so much, sir. And you have a real good weekend. Everything is go for the audio. You got it going on. Perfect. So enjoy that radio. Gosh, I wish I had that radio. Now, what I've got to do here is I've got to check something. I'm working on this loop antenna, and I haven't incorporated the loop into my operational system as best as possible, so I have to kind of check from time to time to be sure that everything is copacetic. And so I'm going to take just a moment to tune, and I'll be right back. So this is will be like a 20-second thing here, so stand by. Alrighty, we are. And we're back together again. So this is KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We are recording between now and 5. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. From now live until 5, we are recording, so if you have a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. KC9VKV. Okay, there was one station coming, there were two stations coming back. Try again, please.
Kilowatt Charlie 3, Juliet Delta Lima.
Kilowatt Charlie 3 Delta Lima, is that correct?
Oh, no, let me give that to you again. That's Kilowatt Charlie 3, Juliet Delta Lima. Kilowatt Charlie 3, Japan Delta Lima. What's up?
Japan Delta Lima. I couldn't copy that that middle one there. What's the name there, please?
We're located here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, running about 100 watts per watt. We're using the wind crew here today, the FTGS 310. And a little bit of wind reflection. We just retired our old SDR pack, the DX77. We still have it. We're going to put it on the file and see what we have here. For now, we're just at the range. Here with Santa Claus.
Roger. I'm only copying you at a couple of dB above my noise level, and I've checked all of the SDRs, and I could not copy you on any of the other SDRs, just my local antenna. What's your location, sir? Gosh, you are under my noise level now, so let me say 3s, and maybe we'll try it later when conditions get a little bit better. I'm sorry, but you are under my noise level now. I only have one option, which is my local antenna. You're not appearing on any of the SDRs. So 3s for now. And maybe you can give us a shout later on if conditions get better. This is a Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We are recording now till 5, and then we'll post it up on YouTube on a call letter search of Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for my group Aircheck 9619. My group Aircheck 9619. This is KC9VKV. All right, copy November 3 Romeo Tango Golf. I believe that correct? Okay, again, I'm copying you at about 1 dB above my noise level. Let me give you an example here. We're running about a kW. I'll drop down to 100 watts. This is 100 watts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is 100 watts going back to kW. This is the kW. Roger. And I just lost my number 1 Rochester SDR. Oh, well, whatever happened to the pass I'm supposed to have, I guess it's not there. Well, let me bail out at number 1. There is a second Rochester SDR that I can bring up. They're in the same family, but they have different controls. So when I get X'd out of one, oh, no. I got X'd out of both of them that time. I must have been on good behavior the one time when I got X'd out of one and I came back with 2 and it worked. But no, I'm getting rejected off of 2. Let me go back and see if 1 is there. And that's, whoa, I got into 1. Maybe I was on 2 all along. Maybe. This is a little bit of the internal workings of our operation here. We're running 4 SDRs, running Rochester, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, Milford, PA, and Alexandria, Virginia, and we just got back on the Rochester, New York SDR. That's really my favorite one there. So we are listening. This is a Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor.
This is a Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor.
Victor, kilowatt, Victor. This is KC3, Juliet Delta Lima.
Kilowatt 3 Delta Lima, is that it, Roger?
Roger. How's that? I just turned the beam around just a little bit in your direction. You still have a better copy on it, go ahead.
Oh, yes, I do. This is Japan Delta Lima, Roger.
Oh, Roger, I'm sorry. Yeah, name here is Joe, Juliet Oscar Echo. And we turned around completely in the wrong direction, so we got our... name here is Joe, Juliet Oscar Echo. Located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and got a much better copy on you as well. You're about 5 by 8, 5 by 9. Noise coming up and down, so it's kind of weird today, but for the most part, pretty good. Go ahead.
Now, Roger, Joe, what did you do between the last time we spoke a few minutes ago and now?
Oh, I turned the beam around pretty much a little bit more in your direction, and I also, too, I noticed my SWR was getting just a little wonky, so that's it.
Oh, okay. So what kind of antenna do you have that you can directionalize with?
Okay, what I'm doing here, I'm running a Force 12 beam. It's a 9-ohmic Maggie, and it's good for 30, 20, and 10 meters. And it's an older beam. It's about good 15 years old, and I rebuilt it and put it up at about 50 feet. We're running about 100 watts today. It's a EX3000 radio. So that's pretty much our story. We have a alpha linear, the 370 54 we use from time to time, but now it looks like we're going to run out of watts to see what we can do.
Okay, Joe, I did take a trip down south. I was just curious. We haven't worked out the whole formula on this this loop antenna. You know, the thing is, a larger diameter loop antenna tends not to follow the normal radiation pattern. When you have a small 1 meter and loop, it does respond fairly well to programmed lobes, but when it gets bigger to the wavelength, it ceases to exercise the known propagation aspects. And so I was just checking out. Right now I'm rotating back to where I was. I'm at 70 degrees now, 60 degrees now, 50 degrees now, 40 degrees, 30 degrees, and I'm going to go to 25 degrees there. And you probably wouldn't have noticed much of a difference, Roger.
Okay, yeah, Roger. I sure did. Yeah, you're good right now. You peaked out very nicely. So where I thought right now is pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad at all. Very, very good. So then we look for it. Yeah, you came up quite a bit. So you're definitely 5 by 9 copy. Plus, I'd say the plus 10, 15 over. So that's very nice. Yeah, worked out very well. Right.
All right, sir. And what radio were you running there?
Okay, we're running the Yaesu, the DX3000 radio, and I'm running the Rhodes microphone as well. I'm not using the Yaesu mic, but I have a Rhodes microphone I'm running here with a DBX audio processor. So I hope you can record me, and you got a decent copy of it. So I have it pretty well locked in. So how's the audio quality sound over there, Tom?
Well, it's hard to tell. I've got somebody exactly about 10 kc off, or maybe not quite, maybe 6 kc off. So I guess 2 clicks over, and they're doing a tune-up or something, because I'm hearing 6K in my ear. I wish they would move off a little bit to tune up. It would be ever so nice not to be next door to an operating frequency when you tune up, but you know, I guess beggars can't be choosers or whatever. But anyway, Joe, yeah, you're sounding good there, sir. I think you've got it together. What I could hear, because every time they would key, I would hear this clunk, and then this 3 kc tone in my earball. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I know. I know what you mean. Yeah, that's always the case. Yeah, I know. It's gee whiz, if you're going to tune up. Yeah. move down a couple clicks and then come on back up. So that's always the way it is. But that's funny. But guys, let's take it up. The noise conditions are, I don't know, it seems like it's improving just a little bit. I'm getting a much better signal out of you right now. Your last transmission was terrific with very good audio quality over at your end as well. And so we run a lot of Collins equipment up here as well. The rig I'm running right now is the ASU SCDX 3000, like I was saying. But no, we run a lot of old Collins stuff here. As a matter of fact, I have the Gold Dust one here. That's the KWS1 transmitter. It's the 75A number 4 receiver. So we play around back to time to time. And it takes a lot of time to get tuned up and it's fun if you want to sit down. Kind of stuff I remember when I was a kid. And I also operate the KWN stuff, the old S-Line. And so that's a lot of fun to play around when I'm feeling, so that's pretty much it. So anyway, that's pretty much our story up here. And I was going to ask you too, as far as your antenna system, what kind of antenna are you running down there? Go ahead.
We are running, normally we run our inverted V dipole. It's fed at about 35 feet, about a 45-degree angle, and that does real well. We kind of concentrate on the East Coast from Montreal to Miami, and it does fairly well. A lot of times we're 20 over up in Canada, and when West Palm Beach SDR was on, we used to I had a buddy in North Carolina that when things got going bad, we just went to the West Palm Beach SDR, and everything was copacetic, and we had no problem. So anyway, I would just suggest on your audio, if you could crank in a little top-end EQ there, and not necessarily up around, maybe 2.5. Do you have any EQ left at about 2.5 on your EQ?
Well, Jim, I think I should be able to give you just a little bit more, but it looks like I'm going to have to get into the radio to move that, get into the menu here. Let me see if I can't bring the DBX. Okay, did you say a little more low frequency detail or a little more high frequency detail?
A little more high frequency, Roger, Roger.
Okay, let's see if I can bring the high frequency up. Okay, we're at number 5 right now, or number 5 on my scale. So let me bring that high frequency up to about number 8. Let's try that. How's that sound? Go ahead.
Okay, I do not have a great signal on you now. It's only about 3 dB above my noise. I would want a little bit better signal. You go ahead and make your EQ and then come back and let me hear it. Hopefully we'll have better conditions.
Okay, Jim. Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to bring the, let's see. Yeah, because I'm noticing the same thing at my end, too. I'm noticing the band conditions are changing a little bit. Noise floor is coming up, and I'm kind of losing you as well, but let's try it again. I'm going to bring the low frequency down just a little bit and the high frequency up. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, go ahead, Jim. Give me a report.
I wouldn't touch the bottom end. Just the top end needs a little clarity. The bottom end was fine. Just need a little top end clarity, Roger.
Okay, Roger, Roger. I did copy you much better on that last transmission. Okay, I made the change. How's that sound, Jim?
I think you got it now, sir. Sounds good. It was just average, and now it's got a nice edge on it, Roger.
Okay, that's great, Jim. Well, thanks so much for the help. I really appreciate it. And I will tune into the YouTube channel. Now, that was, let me see. Oh, you know what? I wrote it down. I was just in the shop, and my gosh, I write down so many notes and things. Oh, my gosh. And then customers call, and I kind of lose track of what I've been doing. I run a repair shop here too, so I just jumped into the shack to make a QSO with you. Then I got to go back out to the shop. What was the YouTube channel? Go ahead.
Go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. KC9VKV on a YouTube search, or YouTube search for KC9VKV. And that will bring you up to my QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 9619. My Group Aircheck 9619. Roger?
Okay, Jim. Yeah, roger. I got that. Okay, super. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out tonight when I go in to sit down with the missus, and yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Hey, that's great. Well, I appreciate sure appreciate it. Your help with that. That's great. So, hey, by the way, I'm running a inverted V as well from time to time. I get great success with it. I've got to tell you, and I got the plans off of YouTube. There was a fella. Oh gosh, he's a really good antenna builder, and I forgot his call sign. He gives some great plans, and I built one of his antennas, and oh boy, I'll tell you what, it worked out really, really well. So I use that from time to time, but I have it oriented to the northeast, so when I have to make contact there, I do use that from time to time, so it works out good. So anyway, I hope you've had good success with your V, inverted V as well. Anyway, this is Kilowatt Charlie 3, Juliet Delta Lima. Back over to Kilowatt Charlie 9, Victor. Kilowatt Victor. Go ahead, Jim.
Roger that. Now, and I have a tuning process for the dipole, and that is, and it holds true for the inverted V's or the normal dipoles. When you're tuning, use your high side of the dipole to bring it on frequency. Use the high side to bring it on frequency, and use the low side, the ground side, to adjust SWR. And you always want to tune for minimum SWR on the ground side, and I'll bring it on frequency on the high side. And you go back and forth like that to you'll wind up with a 0.01 SWR. Roger?
Thanks, Jim. I'll give that a try. I did have a little bit of trouble with it, but yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to give that a try. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. But anyway, yeah, I use the dipole here as well. I got a low boron wire up there, and I use for 80 and 160 with ladder line coming into the shack. So that's been doing pretty good for me. I do have 3 branches, so I went through it, and I did throw my SWR off, of course. And in fact, that's what I was going to do this weekend if it ever stops raining. Is get the bucket truck out and get some branches, and you know, the branches, well, they grew really fast this last year, but they did grow into the antenna on the high side, and well, I tell you, that did change things quite a bit for me here. So anyway, that's what my project is this weekend. Go ahead.
Roger that. Now, I use RG6 as the element on some of my antennas. And I did notice the last time I was working on one that where it had passed over a limb, it was charcoal on the RG6. It had burnt through the insulation from the RG6 into the branch. So now I do exercise caution when I traverse over limbs, and I do put a piece of clear hose, that small diameter hose, over the element as it passes over the limb, and then I come back and put a second piece of a garden hose to make sure that the element doesn't eat through and start arcing to the limb. Roger?
Oh, Roger, Jim. That's a great idea. You know what? That's fantastic advice. I will do the same thing, yeah, because that's my problem. I have a lot of trees, you know, where the dipole, you know, runs past, and the problem is I can't keep up with the growth of the branches and the leaves and the limbs. So, you know what? That's a wonderful idea. I'm going to I'll do that. I will get some garden hose and, you know, slide that right over the thing and wrap it off with it, and it slides back and forth. But, yeah, great idea. That's wonderful. So, hey, gave me 2 ideas, 2 good ones today. So, that's great. All right, Jim. Hey, listen, I'm going to get back into the shop. I got to get some work finished. But, hey, it's been really great chatting with you, and I think there's a couple other guys trying to get you. So, I'm going to say 73 for now, and I'll be in the shop just listening in. So, anyway, great, Jim. Enjoy the conversation. This is Kilowatt Charlie 3, Japan Delta Lima. Back over to Kilowatt Charlie 9, Victor, Kilowatt Victor. Go ahead, Jim.
Roger, Joe. Now, before you go, I want you to go back and check your ALC level. You know, we did punch up a little bit top end there, so go back and double check your ALC to be sure you're not too hot. Mid-scale to 2/3 on the ALC, Roger.
Okay, Jim. Roger. Give me a second, and I am going to see here. Okay, let me take it down. Okay, how's that, Jim?
Well, you tell me. Is it mid-scale to 2/3? Sounds better.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think that's what the problem. Yeah, you know, the funny thing is, I had the grandkids over here the other day. No, about 2 or 3 days ago, and they were always here at the console. I got a funny feeling they may have just kind of bumped something at one point. But anytime they're around, I never can touch too much past them. So that's a possibility. All right, anyway, back over to you, Jim.
Roger. Well, Joe, let me say threes to you, sir. I think we've got some other stations out there. So join us next Friday if you get a chance, man. Sounding great, Roger.
Okay, Jim. Roger. I definitely will. I'm going to put it on my calendar, and I'll jump back in. I hope to catch up to you next Friday. Kilowatt Charlie 3, Juliet Delta Lima, standing by and listening. Back over to KC9, Victor, Kilowatt Victor. 73, Jim.
Three's that way. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, we are now recording live till 5. And also, if you need a little assistance in your audio tune-up on transmit, we do that too. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. Now, there was somebody out there with a kilowatt, I know. I heard them momentarily. This is KC9VKV. I hear that mobile up in Canada, Roger. Roger, I'm copying you best on my loop antenna, but it's only a couple of dB above my noise level, Roger. Roger. Well, I've got you down. We are recording, so even though it is in Braille, you're there. So do the call letter search on YouTube, and you'll hear it barely. Three's that way, and we'll catch you later. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG page. And not hearing anyone, this is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon edition of the QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you need a little assistance with as far as audio on the transmit side, give us a shout to KC9VKV.
W4LJS. KC9VKV, November 4, Echo Mike.
Mike station, stand by. W4LJ, what was that?
It's LJS, Lima Juliet Sierra.
Yes, sir, and what's the name there, please?
Oh, it's Larry.
Okay, Larry, and whereabouts are you, sir?
I'm down in South Carolina, little place called Lake Wiley in South Carolina. Basically, we're a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was just going to ask you what you were thinking about the audio here. I was playing with the EQ a little bit on this radio, and let me quickly show you where it was, Jim, and then you can see. Maybe I'm gone too far with it. I don't really know. So hold on a second. This is kind of original setting, and there's obviously going to be a little bit less high end and things like that. And this is with the EQ tuned in on this.
Yeah, there we go. I was looking for an option to Oh, yeah. I was looking for an option, SDR option for your signal, but you're best on my my antenna, which is that 10-foot loop antenna, mag loop antenna. You're best there, but come on back and let me see if I can get a little bit better signal to noise ratio. Roger.
Oh, Roger. Yeah, is a copy these days with the way the propagation has been on 40 meters can be a little bit difficult. I find that the signal levels are in general lower than they had been and things like that, and makes copy a little bit difficult. But anyway, as I was saying, this is where I turned a little EQ on the radio, and this is an original setting without EQ. This is without, and here we go with, this is with the EQ, just to, if you're hearing it well enough to get an idea. This is W4LJS, Jim.
Roger, I'm getting you now 7 dB above my noise level, so I got plenty of signal. The setting that you have now is fine. I would even increase the top end. What kind of EQ do you have? 3-band?
Actually, yes. What I've got is I've got a little broadcast style speech processor on the microphone itself, which functions as a little bit of a compressor and a voice conditioner. And what I did is I added to that by putting I've got a Yaesu FTTX 5000, and I've added a little bit of mid-range EQ on top of it, and a little bit of higher-end EQ on it. Took and EQ'd about 1,1200 hertz, then up again about 2,200 hertz.
Roger, what was the top one?
I think it's about 2,200. I believe that's correct here. I have to press the button and take a look in the menu again to make sure I'm telling you correct. Okay,
on your outboard, what are the frequency ranges on your outboard EQ? You've got that in line. You're running outboard processing outboard EQ, Roger?
Yeah, it's not really so much of an EQ. I don't know whether you're familiar with any of the. I've got a little DBX processor on it. It's a 266A. And basically, it's got simply got a low frequency detail, high frequency detail, and a compression and gating mechanism built into the processor.
Okay, so where are you on your high frequency detail? Do you have some additional push left for that?
Oh yeah, it'll come up further. I find that with the DBX, that if you push the HF detail on that a little bit too much, you start to get a little bit raspy. So, but I can turn it up. It's easy enough.
About 10% or 15% from where you are.
Okay. Well, let me crank the mic back in front of me again here, and let me glance over at the radio's ALC, make sure I'm not overdriving and everything. Yeah, everything looks really pretty good, on the radio and things. And that's up about another 10-15% or so.
Oh, and then tell me about your antenna system for about 10 seconds.
Oh, sure. Antenna is simply a 130-foot long, flat top or dipole. It's up about 75 feet. It's fed with ladder line, and down about 10 feet from the shack or so, I have an automatic antenna tuner that takes and presents a nice 50-ohm load and runs chunks of coax into the shack. It's 10 or 15 feet long.
Roger. Okay, let me ask you a question. Now, you have this outboard equipment coming into your radio. Could I ask you on your radio what volume control level setting the mic input is? In other words, if you have a rotary dial there, is it down around 3 or 4, or is it on up around noontime or so?
Let me see. This the 5000 has simply a rotary dial on it. I don't know that it gives you an indication of numbers or anything, but I would say that I'm probably maybe 10 o'clock, 10:30, something like that.
Okay, because I thought you might be overdriving your input, and that was the reason that it got a little raspy. Yeah, you want to be like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, somewhere in there on your mic gain. If you get lower than that, like a 2 or 1, the odds are great that you are overdriving your mic input level. So you do want to have, be up there around 9:30, 10:30, somewhere 11:30, somewhere in there.
Yeah, well, that's basically where it is at, Jim. Because what I did with this radio to do things is I've actually got a little soundboard stuffed in things too. And what I do is the soundboard is simply flat. Okay, there's nothing there as far as EQ or anything like that. It's a little Behringer soundboard. And what I actually use it for is so that I can, inject sound from the computer back and forth and, do the digital modes and things like that. And it also sends the mic processor through into the radio itself. So that's pretty much neutral. And I've got a little interface box with a transformer in it, and I've got a little trim adjustment in it to get the level right for the radio, because this Yaesu, if you're feeding a remote mic into it, it's pretty easy to overdrive it and things like that. And so I've got it set back to where you get things to where it's not actually overdriving the radio. That's kind of the complete picture.
Yeah, Roger. The best way to do that is bring up your ALC so you can see what your ALC is. Take your mic gain up to 1030 on the radio, and then take your trim pot to mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC through your trim pot. Then you've got the whole ball of wax, Roger.
Yeah, and that's pretty much where it's at, by the way, is, is like, this, one of the things with this little Yaesu is it's got the ability to, it's just got a switch for analog metering, so while I'm speaking to you here, I can take and kick over to the ALC position and, and look at the power output on the radio and reflect it in the whole thing just while you're conversing and change it as needed.
Roger, you caught me on getting a drink of coffee. That's it. Yeah, that's it, Roger. And your audio's sounding great. So, all things are go, sir.
Okay, well, that's cool. I thank you for your opinion, Jim. I'm happy to hear you on here. I actually heard you on some months back, and there's another station trying to call in, so I'll go ahead and hush up. And thank you for your opinion and your time and your recording and your efforts, and hope that you have a wonderful time the rest of the year here. This is W4LJS.
Roger, sir. And if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO page, and you'll be looking for my group Aircheck 9619. My group Aircheck 9619. Threes. This is KC9VKV, and gosh, we got Rochester SDR number 1 back. We did get timed out for inactivity over 20 minutes. Man, I tell you, there's more rules and regulations for these SDRs. Just drive you crazy when you're trying to do 3,000 other things and have to deal with but anyway, we're running these 4 SDRs for the benefit of our low-power friends that have difficulty making a 300-400 mile trip at around 2 or 3 dB above my noise level. So I'm trying to reach out with these SDRs and maybe get a better signal. And we're SDRing Rochester, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, Milford, Pennsylvania, and Alexandria, Virginia. We have a kind of a network there of SDRs to help and find people when they are checking in at 2 dB above noise on my local antenna. Anyway, this is KC9VKV, and if you have a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout.
KC9VKV, November 4, Echo, Mike.
Mike, good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Good, Jim. Good afternoon to you. The name here is TAG, Tango Alpha Golf. Tango Alpha Golf, located in the middle of the state of Georgia, just outside of Macon in the city of Gray, Georgia. You sounded really good this afternoon, about an S9 plus 10 to S9 plus 20 on peaks. It's been very consistent and very consistent audio and signal. I'm having a lot better luck receiving you on my beverage antenna just to compensate for the noise level, but really good conditions this afternoon, Jim. KC9VKV and for EMM.
Roger, roger, sir. I am copying you at 10 dB above my noise level. We are utilizing this afternoon a 10-foot mag loop antenna. It is ideally aimed 25 degrees, but when you get a larger form loop antenna, it ceases to have normal lobes as it would if it were just a 1 meter antenna. It becomes less directional the bigger the loop, and this is a 10-foot loop, and we are running our world-famous red gold tuning capacitor made out of tin cans for 1 kW. Roger?
Roger, Jim. That sounds interesting. I'll have to look for a picture of that on the YouTube page or on your webpage. That definitely sounds like something worth looking into. Well, I've been pretty consistent over the past several months. I guess I've had this rig for 9 or 10 months now, since I bought it, I guess back about November of 18. It's a Yaesu FT DX3000 and using the DMD1 matching microphone as well. Got a little bit of low cut and not much treble emphasis, but I've had very consistent audio reports and in the positive direction. So I've been pretty pleased with it so far, and haven't had any issues. But just kind of curious what your opinion is. It sounds like you've got a pretty good rapport on audio qualities and whatnot, and definitely several different vantage points on the receive points there. Jim, go ahead.
Roger, Tag. Gosh, EQ sounds great. I love it. I don't like a lot of bottom end because it tends to muddy out. And when you're trying to copy somebody in the noise, you know, frankly, I want some brightness. I want some clarity to the Clearwater to help me discern the words when it's having great competition with the noise. Roger?
Roger. Very good. Well, sounds like I've still got a fairly consistent setting. I haven't really touched it since I got the rig and used it for 3 or 4 weeks and got a few reports and some opinions from the local guys. So I guess it's the proverbial if it works, don't fix it, and leave well enough alone. So I appreciate the positive comment there, Jim. KC9VKV and for EMM. And by the way, I was looking just searching on the YouTube for the channel. Do you upload the recordings later in the day, or are they actually live? Go ahead.
We usually say we'll have them uploaded within a couple of days from when we record them. So 48 hours after we record, we'll usually have it up. A lot of times it's sooner than that, but I don't want to say that it'll be sooner, you know, because sometimes we do get busy and, you know, well, you know, we do this for a love, and we do other things for money, and so push come to shove, you know, you have to make some decisions there. So usually we just say we'll have it up within 48 hours, a couple of days, and that you know, usually suffices. And if we make it sooner, so be it. If we don't, we still usually have always made it within a couple of days. Now on your processing, your EQ, don't change a thing on your EQ, but I have a question for you regards your compressor. Now we do normally recommend that when in our setups that folks engage their compressor at about a 3. Now this is a very token amount, and you'll never hear that compressor working, but it's part of the fattening process. It does its thing. The thing is, you know, I hate to hear somebody's compressor going, yeah, and suck up, and all that stuff, and frankly, they don't know how to run the compressor. I look at a compressor with finesse, and I want it to do certain things, but I don't want it to be obvious, and I don't want nobody knowing that that's what I'm doing. So what we recommend is that you engage your compressor at about a 3 out of 10 token amount, but it's the beginning of the fattening process.
Roger, very good. Well, to be honest with you, I haven't even touched the processor compressor in probably several months. I'd be curious to see what it would do if I actually engaged it. To unkey here.
Yeah, Tag, I think there for a moment you might have been getting some RF into your AF. Sounded like that for a moment, then it cleared up right at the end. I think the RF won on that battle. It was very loud and no voice, just oscillation. So you could, there's a lot of different ways of getting rid of RF in the AF. I know I've had it forever. The more stuff that you have tied to your mic input, the more probability, particularly if you're running a KW, the more possibilities of RF getting in the AF. So the more stuff you have tied in, and we've got a bunch of stuff tied into the input and a bunch of stuff tied into the output. So you have to approach it. I use a lot of love beads, and I do tell you what else I use. I use a field strength meter, a cheap $14 CB field strength meter, and I go looking for hotspots. I go sniffing around for hotspots, and it's amazing. That's with the KW amp on. That's where you can really see it. And then when you find out what's hot and what's not, you figure out how to move that what's hot away from your audio as best as possible. Roger? Yeah,
Jim, very good. Well, actually, I turned the processor back off because I did notice I had a lot more RF output than I did voice there for a moment when I looked back at it, just as I was letting go and you were replying. So I've turned that back off, and that's probably got a little bit to do with it. But I'm assuming it sounds a little bit better now. Real quick, go ahead.
Yes, sir, and the tonality of it is just fine. I don't think you need the outboard stuff at all. I think you really have it going on right as you spoke just that last time, Roger.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you very much. Well, that's a good thing to hear. That kind of reminds me, if it's not broke, I shouldn't fix it, and I'll leave well enough alone. But I do try to run some of the ferrite beads, but like I said, I'm using a off-center fed dipole, and even though I have an additional balun in the coax line, it invariably gets a little bit of RF back down into the shack. Not a whole lot we can do about that except keep throwing ferrites at it, but I like your idea of using kind of an old school field strength meter and looking for different hotspots, and I may try that. I haven't done that in several years, so that sounds like a good plan. Well, Jim, thank you so much. I appreciate the opinions and the confirmation that I must be doing something right, and it's, as they say, it's close enough for government work, and I'm going to leave well enough alone. So thank you so much for your time and your efforts, and for the love of the radio and putting in the recordings, and definitely no hurry on uploading. I was just curious if my search engine was looking correctly, because I couldn't seem to find anything in September, but that would make sense since they're not uploaded yet from for this week. But thank you again, and thank you for your time and your diligence and commitment to the hobby there, Jim. 7-3 to you, and thank you again. KC9VKV and 4EMM.
Roger, Tech. The only reason I mention it is that your audio does look a little unprocessed. What we try to do is, unprocessed audio roughly has a 10 dB dynamic range. And a 10 dB dynamic range interpolates into about a 30% of average peak modulation. What we try to do is bring your average percent of peak modulation up to about 3 dB. And when you hit that, then your average peak modulation will be somewhere around 80 to 85%. And that is about sounding about twice as loud as the unprocessed, but very with finesse, because you don't hear the stuff actually working. And the way you get there, and I was alluding to a part of it just a moment ago in regards to the compressor, you might take notes and then think about whether what you want to do, but let me give you the shot there, and you can write it down and then do what you want to do. But engage the compressor at a 3. Turn that compressor just to about a 3, and then go to your ALC and adjust your ALC level to where you're running a mid-scale to 2/3. A mid-scale to 2/3 by turning up your mic gain, if need be, to make that ALC meter deflect mid-scale to 2/3. And that's it, Roger. You already have the EQ down.
Okay, excellent. Well, I've definitely made the notes, and I'm going to experiment with that as you suggested, and I'll try to maybe perhaps check back in with you later in the afternoon or perhaps next Friday. To be quite honest with you, it's been so long since I touched the settings, I'm going to have to get the book out to get back into the menus to mess with the processor, because it's a combination knob on the FTDX3000 for the carrier level slasher processor. So I just noticed that I can't really vary it from right here at the knob level, even with it enabled. So I'll take a little bit of time and do some due diligence into to setting that as you suggested, and give that a try, Jim. Thank you very much.
Roger. And it sounded like the RF was trying to jump in your audio again. I would go ahead and disconnect your external processing, because if you're, it sounds great just the way it is, and if you're not running it, it's just there collecting RF. So I would remove that external processing stuff because you don't need it. And there was one other thing I was going to mention. Oh, gosh. Sorry, it slips my mind now. But anyway, Tad, you're doing great there, buddy. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday, and let me know, what's happening, Roger.
We certainly will, Jim, and I appreciate it very much. And again, thank you very much for your efforts and your diligence to the hobby. And we wish you luck, and look for you for the next time. And I'll pass the opportunity on to someone else there, Jim. Thank you so much. KC9VKV in 4EMM.
Roger, I know what it was. I was thinking about the distortion. You might double check your ALC just to be sure you're mid-scale to 2/3. I'm sure it's RF in the AF, but double check your ALC to be sure that you're not overdriving that. That could also contribute to some distortion. 3's there, Tad. Catch you later, man. Thanks for dropping by. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and this is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We are recording now live till 5. Is Victor Echo, go ahead.
Yeah, very good afternoon. That's Victor Echo 3, Papa, Charlie, Papa,
Papa, Alpha, Papa? Okay, I only have you at about a dB above my noise. Whereabouts are you, sir?
I'm in the Midwestern Ontario. We've spoken before. We're a couple hours northwest of the city of Toronto. We're just going through some trees. I'm a bit out in the open now, so maybe my signal has improved. QSO?
Yes, sir. I just went to the Milford PASDR, and you took my head off there with a 10 over. And this is VE3P. What is it?
Victor Echo 3, Papa, Charlie, Papa.
Roger, and you're mobile right now?
Yeah, QSO. Yeah, we spoke a few weeks ago.
Roger. Well, what is the radio in your mobile?
Mobile. 20S barefoot, and I have a 40-meter Hustler mobile antenna on the roof of the car, running an static D104 preamplified hand mic QSO.
Roger, Roger. Well, it's sounding good there, that mic. Be glad it's a preamp, because otherwise you'd be sheet 10 if it wasn't a preamp, Roger.
Roger. I'm sorry, I'd be what?
You would be sheet 10 as far as frequency response. Those D104s have a really high impedance cartridge, and when you try to make them work into 600 ohms, you just lose all of the bottom. But when they have their own preamp, they have a FET front end on that preamp that matches the element just great, and the output is like low impedance, 600 ohms, and goes right into the radio perfectly. Roger?
Hey, Roger?
Yeah, QSO. Yeah, I normally run a Kenwood hand mic on this radio, but I've got an intermittent connection on the push-to-talk on it, so I had to dig up this spare mic and put it in the car until I get the other one fixed, QSO.
Roger. And what kind of power are you running?
It's 100 watts barefoot.
Roger, doing a great job there. What's the name again?
The name is Roger Oscar Baker, and we spoke a couple of weeks ago. I checked in with you from my mobile, and then I checked in with you from my home QTH once I got home again, QSO.
Roger, I remember that, yes, and you did sound better on your bass, but I think you might have had something in the closet that helped you out a little, Roger. Roger that, Rob. Well, that mobile's doing you a good job, sir. And if you want to go to YouTube and do a call letter search, Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and you'll be looking for My Groove Aircheck 9619. Roger? Roger, I just flipped over to see what you were doing on my mag loop, but you are still much better on the Milford PA. All right, we'll say 3s for now, and we'll catch you later, Rob. Thanks for checking in, Roger. And we'll say 3s to Rob. He's in Canada Land, up around Ontario, in his mobile. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor, and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG page. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
This is Kilo 4, Delta Alpha Sierra.
Kilo 4, repeat the rest.
Delta Alpha Sierra. Kilo 4, Delta Alpha Sierra.
Roger, sir. And what's the name?
The name here is Dean, Delta Echo Alpha November. QTH is Great Falls, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C.
Great. Well, you're Dean, you're giving me a 5 over on my mag loop antenna, Roger.
Oh, very good. My operating condition is a Kenwood CS450S running into a Collins 30L1 amplifier. So I'm probably pushing out 400 watts or something like that. I have a 7-band off.
Roger. Let's see. I thought you were on my local antenna, but I think I was on one of the SDRs. We're running 4 SDRs this afternoon. Rochester, New York, which keeps rejecting me. They have a problem with me. I'm supposed to have a password, but they fail to recognize it. And we're also running a Raleigh SDR, a Milford PA SDR, and an Alexandria, Virginia SDR, trying to help out our 100-watt friends make a cleaner trip so we can get a better recording. Roger, Roger.
Plus about 5 here. I've probably got a noise level around F7, so you're coming in real strong here.
Roger, and I did go to my local antenna, and you are about a 6 over there. So I guess that's where I was. I'm losing my mind. After about an hour or so, things get really murky. There's so many things going on. It's just, like how to drive a bus with one hand, Roger.
Well, Roger for that. So my question here today is, I've had some reports of RF in my audio, but in playing around a little bit the other night, I think I determined it was when my processor was on or off. This particular radio, there's no settings on the processor. You either turn it on or you turn it off. I have it off right now. I've got the mic gain up at about, on the dial, it's probably about, about 930.
Roger. Well, let me give you some advice. The most important thing that you need to do is consistently address the microphone. You must always address the microphone the same way, so your audio level is the same. At least that gives the rest of your processing system a chance. If you're 4 inches off mic and then 2 inches off mic, that creates a problem for the chain to try to correct all that and make everything the same level coming out, which is what you want. You want your average peak modulation to be between 80 and 85% consistently. Now, I'll tell you what I do. I'm running an electret microphone, and I'm running a windscreen, and I'm right up in the mic with the windscreen. If you do that, you have to be ready to take care of a thing called proximity effect. A proximity effect says that the closer you work a microphone, the more low-frequency buildup there is. So obviously, if you're right into the microphone, you're going to have a tremendous amount of that buildup. And so you EQ that out as a general rule, that and bring your mic EQ back to normal, even though you're right up in it. But the thing that the advantage of that is that your audio is consistent, absolutely consistent. There is no fluctuation. There is no back off like this or off to the side like that. You're on mic, and you have a very consistent signal. Now, the second thing is I'm running an ART preamp, which furnishes the phantom power supply for the condenser microphone, and I'm also running a limit on that preamp. So I'm limiting probably about 5 or 6 dB. Now, this isn't necessarily compression. This is a very quick attack time and release time, and so it's more like a limiter than it is a compressor. So I'm probably 6 dB of limiting before I even get into the radio. Then I'm running a token amount of compression, like maybe 3 out of 10, and I am also running my ALC at mid-scale to 2/3. So the end product is a very fat audio signal. Roger?
Okay, Roger, I've got that. So I'm running a Heil DM5 microphone right now on the wide bandwidth setting. No problem.
But I think your voice is falling off. I don't think you're really attacking the microphone the way that you would want to. And I would suggest this. I would suggest that you get a windscreen. I think they're $4 or $5. Get a foam windscreen, put on the mic, and then get into that mic maybe an inch or so. And if you can look at your watt meter, that's in other words, if you can see what you're doing, and if you establish say a 0 level of wattage reading on your meter, and then as you speak, you can see that the meter is either reaching 0 or not. And if your meter is down like this, then you want to speak up to bring it up to there. So, but you have a visual reference as to what your audio level is. Roger?
Roger. So I'm looking at the watt meter right now, and I see it kind of fluctuate up and down as I talk. So I'm getting the idea of what you're talking about. I've also brought the mic in a little closer, and I'm attacking a little bit more. So presumably that's making a little bit of a difference.
Oh, Roger, all right. That's great. And that's just, the more you do that and practice watching that meter as you speak, you will realize that how, less consistent you were before and how more consistent you're going to be now, Roger.
That makes perfect sense, and, it makes a lot of sense that you got to have the microphone near where the audio is in order for it to pick up. What I'd like to do, if you're all right with it, is turn on my mic processor. The processor on the Kenwood
you did fade out just a little bit. I'll tell you what. Now, I have nothing against outboard processing, but I don't think it's really necessary. I think if you engage your preamp at a 3. Engage your preamp at a 3 out of 10 and bring your ALC up to mid-scale to 2/3. Your average peak modulation will be between 80 and 85%, which is an extremely fat signal. And the other thing left outside of that is the EQ curve, and I think you already have a nice mic EQ curve going, Roger.
Where I need to be right now. I just gotta watch. I gotta watch my mic. My microphone technique, and that'll help a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I can see an improvement there, and I see that you've got the message right on. You're now it's just practice, and so the more you speak, concentrating on watching your watt meter, the better. It's just habit by now, or in the future. You've got the routine. I would double check my. To be sure, again, we're talking about not necessarily having to use external processing. If we be sure and run our compressor at a 3 out of 10, run our compressor at a 3 out of 10, and then go to the ALC and adjust our mic level to where the ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3, mid-scale to 2/3. I'll guarantee you, that you will probably be running 80 to 85% average peak modulation. Roger?
Okay, I got you there. This radio has the compressor either on or off. There's no setting. It's either processor on or processor off. So all I can do is turn the processor on and then turn the mic gain down until I stay within the ALC range.
Okay, let's have a go at it. Go ahead and engage the processor, and then adjust your mic level for mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC, and let's see what you sound like.
Engage the mic processor. I'm overdriving ALC, so I'm turning the mic down until I can get it back within the.
Okay, so so you can set your ALC level on the next transmission with your mic gain.
So it's very, very sensitive and hard to adjust.
Roger. Well, I just, just speak normally like you would, and then either bring your mic level up or down to where your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3.
All right. Well, I'll keep giving it a shot there. I'm right at the bottom of the mic gain, and keep speaking, and then it drops off to 0. So it's a very sensitive setting.
All right, I would turn the mic gain up to about. Does it have numbers?
No numbers.
Oh, isn't that clever? I love these. Well, I mean, why would you not have numbers on something that you adjust? And you have to say, oh well, I'm at 2 o'clock. I'm at 6 o'clock. Well, that's the way we deal with suckers that don't put numbers on dials. Turn that mic gain to 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, Roger.
All right, the mic gain's at 10 o'clock. When I look at the ALC, it's like peaking the meter.
You're in the red?
Yep, all the way in the red.
All right, 8:30. 8:30,
and it's still peaking the meter. This is what it was doing before. I was saying when when I've got the processor on, it peaks the meter almost no matter what I do.
All right, 7 o'clock. If I don't know if you were transmitting then or not. Maybe 7 o'clock is off.
That's what I was saying. I turn it down, it peaks, and then it cuts off like a clip.
Roger. Well, in the outstanding aspects of the design of that radio, that they couldn't afford to put numbers on your controls. They also couldn't put you a control for your compressor. So that radio was obviously designed by GLEN Close Enough. Now, GLEN Close Enough has designed many things. He designed my coffee pot, and the problem is that every time I pour a cup of coffee, regardless of how much coffee in the pot, I wind up with coffee on the tabletop. It just will not pour without spilling. So I say that's another product designed by GLEN Close Enough. Roger?
Well, Roger, and I think what I've learned, turn my compressor off, turn my mic gain up to about 10 o'clock, speak clearly into the mic to make sure I'm using good mic technique, and I'll be heard just fine.
Yeah, Roger, you're going to turn the compressor off and then bring your mic gain up to where your ALC is mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Well, Roger, you're very, very helpful. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the time. I'll send 73 so somebody get down there and work on their 2004 Delta Alpha Sierra. Alpha 7.
Roger, you're about to fade out, so 3's that way. And the most important reading is your ALC, and you want to be sure and run that at mid-scale to 2/3 as you're watching your modulation on your watt meter, and you're faithfully working that microphone as best you can to keep your audio at 0 level. And then you balance 3 balls simultaneously. 3's that way. We'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network.
Whiskey 8, Lima Whiskey.
Whiskey 8, Zima, what is that? Repeat the call.
Yeah, the call sign. Whiskey 8, Lima Whiskey. Do you copy?
Whiskey 8, Lima Whiskey. Roger?
That's so Roger there. The name here is Tim. Tango India Mike in the state of Michigan. Over.
Roger, Tim. What radio are you running, sir?
This here is a STDX3K. Over.
All right, sir. Gosh, I found a great Milford PA SDR, and you're about 20 over on that SDR, sir. Roger?
Roger. Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was interested in. I've got this vertical wire with the feed point at about 10 feet and a couple of elevated radios. I've been running it in the past just barefoot at 100, but right now I think I'm peaking at 200 watts out through this Ameritron 811 hotel. Over.
Roger, well, it's doing you a great job. Your audio is nice and fat. I would suggest just a little more brightness, a little more top-end EQ. Other than that, I think you got it going on. Roger? Roger.
Okay, copy that. Well, let's see, QSB, your signal strength has been as high as a 9 and as low as a 3. What antenna are you receiving on right now? Over.
Roger. Right now we're receiving on a 10-foot mag loop antenna. A 10-foot mag loop antenna. Roger.
Roger. Okay, copy the 10-foot mag loop. What's the location of that antenna, please?
Near Louisville, Kentucky. Now we just switched over to our normal dipole. We are kind of experimenting with the loop, but now this is our normal inverted V. What kind of signal does this give you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that signal is a 7. On all of your transmissions, the Q5, definitely good audio, clear as a bell. It's just the signal strength was varying on that mag loop. Over.
All right, I'll give you another shot. This is the inverted V, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the inverted V going to the mag loop.
Okay, that was an 8. Signal 8, 5 by 8.
Roger, now the mag loop. I was going to do the switch. See, the whole thing about comparing a signal is that you want to do them just as quick as possible. So I do the one in a second and do the next one, so it catches the same conditions, Roger. I am on the, now so listen for it. I am on the loop antenna at this moment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to the dipole, so don't do anything. I'm going to the dipole. And I'm to the dipole now, so we should be on the same conditions. And what was the difference in signal strength?
Okay, the signal was just one. It was either a 7 or an 8. Over.
You're saying the first one was a 7, the second one was an 8? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, roger that.
Okay, alrighty, so I'll just stay on the dipole for the moment. Roger.
All right, copy that. And your dipole there is at same location as your mag loop, is that correct?
Roger. We're located next door to Louisville, Kentucky. We're about 3 miles from downtown Louisville. We are on the Indiana side of the Ohio River, and Louisville, Kentucky is on the other side. Roger?
Okay, copy that. So, I don't know, maybe 400 or 500 miles is about it. Over.
Roger that. Well, the loop antenna, as I've seen it work and had experience with it now, although it be limited, I have noticed that it seems to be more effective at 500 to 600 miles. It does up into Canada. It really starts to pull its own up in that area. Roger?
Oh, yeah, copy that. It's 10 foot is the diameter on there. I'm not real up on those mag loops. They look kind of complicated. How many wraps does that take to get around that diameter? Over.
It's just one loop. It's a 1-inch heliax cable, 1 inch around, 10 foot, 32 feet in circumference. So it's not a bunch of wires. It's just one 1-inch cable. Actually, heliax is a transmission cable. It's a very low loss transmission cable that's used professionally to minimize noise on the downlink from the antenna to the receiver. But in this case, we are using it as a 32-foot piece to make our 10-foot mag loop antenna. Roger?
Okay, copy that. So that gives you a little broader band, does it, as opposed to a 14-gauge wire, then I'm guessing, over?
Oh, yes. Well, the thing is, mag loop antennas are tremendously high Q. I don't know if you understand what Q is, but Q is a reference to the, well, let me just put it this way. The higher the Q, the more gain. I used to build, and I still do sometimes, Yagi antennas, and I would use 1/4-inch rods instead of half-inch aluminum, and that would make my Q on any given day much higher than commercial grade Yagi antennas, to the fact that I could probably go and have gone head to head with commercial Yagi antennas and beat them by 5 or 6 dB simply because my Q, center frequency Q, was so much higher than theirs because of the diameter of my elements. Now the drop drawback to that is that you don't have the ability to go way out to one extreme frequency-wise or the other end of the band, because as you go out from center frequency, your SWR starts to climb because they are so high Q. But I don't care about going to the outer edges of the band. I'm more concerned about center band performance. So with quarter-inch elements, my Q was just, and the gain was on any given day 6 dB hotter, at least than the commercial grade antennas. Plus the fact that we use a very elaborate drive mechanism where they're using beta matches and gamma matches. We're using a match that is a half-wave, half-folded dipole, which on any given day probably is about 3 dB hotter than the beta match or the gamma match. So our antenna just was outstanding. Roger.
Okay, copy all that. Good stuff. So what I'm getting is that you get it tuned in so well and where you want it in the band, and then you just sit there and operate in that little sweet spot there, right?
Oh, Roger. Well, the thing is about a mag loop antenna is usually very high Q, and because of that, you have to have a motor drive to activate the tune capacitor on the mag loop if you change frequencies. However, I have found another trick, and that is to bring the mag loop antenna back on the antenna tuner side, and so I can go out to other frequencies, other left or right of center frequency, quite a ways, and still be able to adjust for 0 SWR because I am using the antenna tuner. So in that way, I don't need a motor-driven tune capacitor out at the mag loop antenna. Roger.
Oh yeah, copy that. Very good. You're pretty good with those antennas, by golly. Much better than I. I've only worked with wire stuff, and just from its standpoint, pretty tree, and tune it in right there where I want to be, and well, anyway, that's good stuff. Hey, just QSO, very glad to meet you. I'll let you get on with your CQ and see if you can pick up some more stations. How about that? Over.
Well, we're just about out of time. Could you repeat your call sign one more time, please, sir?
Oh, yes. This is Whiskey 8, Lima Whiskey. The name is Tim, Tango, India, Mike, in the state of Michigan. Copy?
Yes, sir, Tim. Thank you, sir. Thank you for dropping by. Your audio is EQ is just perfect. What was the radio you're running?
Yaesu 3K.
Roger that. Are you pretty well familiar with that radio?
A little bit. Since I picked it up just a couple of months ago, I've had it, I use a rig control called Win4 Yaesu, so I don't have to dive into the menu and use the knobs and buttons. It's all right there on the monitor. Over.
Roger. Well, sounds really good, man. Just don't change a thing. Get the Gorilla Tape and tape it down, Roger.
Roger. Hey, copy that. Well, appreciate the good report there. And I guess I'll let you get going there. KC9VKV. This is Whiskey 8, Lima Whiskey 73.
Roger. And just before you go and offhand, I am collecting great radio stories, whether it be amateur radio stories, commercial radio stories, or war radio stories. Would you happen to have any radio stories that you could share with us?
Oh, wow. No, I'm a pretty green ham just this year, so nothing in the amateur radio There's times I wished I had a radio when I was driving across the country and had none. Over.
Roger, roger. Now, were you driving for a living?
Living? Negative. Do a lot of travel for enjoyment's sake. Over.
Oh, Roger. Well, then that's the best kind of traveling. So you drive for as much time as you please, and then you pull off and stay somewhere and drive some more. Was that the routine?
Yeah, for the most part. Always being safe. None of that crazy business of trying to. What the heck did they have those races where people race coast to coast and just. I don't know if they even slept. That's pretty crazy. Over.
Oh yeah. That's putting everybody at jeopardy trying to drive when you're tired. That's as bad as driving and drinking. The same thing is it's your ability to concentrate and to pay attention is vastly disturbed when you're sleepy or been drinking. So in any case, we hope that everyone when they are driving, please drive alert. Don't drive when you're tired. Don't drive when you've had a few. And that's words to live by right there, Roger.
Roger. Oh yeah, that's the way to be for sure. Nothing, but unfortunately, some folks don't adhere to the good rules, do they?
Roger, roger. Well, listen, I appreciate your comeback to me, Tim. I'll say a threes for now, and really enjoyed it. If you get a chance, join us next Friday afternoon. We start at 3:30 Eastern Daylight Time and go till 5, and right now we're at 5:10, so I've been a pumpkin for 10 minutes and didn't know it, so got to jump out of here. But anyway, Tim, if you go to YouTube and do they call it a search for, you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for my group Aircheck 9619. And the name was Tim, Roger?
Roger? Yeah, Roger. Name is Tim. So what are you saying is you have recorded your afternoon and you post it on YouTube, over?
That's correct. We start recording right at 3:30 when we start, and we are recording constantly until 5. And if you want to check out your audio, which it really sounds great, we usually will post it now in the next couple of days. And if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for my group Aircheck 9619, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and you'll be looking for an Aircheck called My Group Aircheck 9619. Roger?
Roger? Yeah, roger all that. Very interesting. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. Hey, thanks for that. Appreciate it. That's a little bonus here to the ham radio. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Okay. You have a good one. W8LLW is clear.
Roger, Tim. Three's that way, sir. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. And this is KC9VKV, and since 3:30, this has been the QSO-VLOG network. We've enjoyed it so much. Thanks for everyone that checked in and participated. With any luck at all, we'll be back on the air next Friday from 3:30 till 5. Recording again, so if you have a radio you want to check out the audio, or if you need a little assistance in tuning up your radio, we do that too. So anyway, we'll say threes for now. We've enjoyed it, and catch you later. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, clear.